Welcome to Car Design Academy, where we help aspiring designers master the skills and technology necessary to succeed as an automotive designer through live, online training, and personal mentoring. Today we're going to be sketching a couple of sports cars in perspective, and I'm going to show you a couple different kinds of perspective. First, we're going to show you a simpler perspective, which I call the worm's eye view or the ground view. And then we're going to look at a more aerial view where you're looking down on the vehicle. And especially with sports cars, since they're lower to the ground, it tends to be more common that you'll see them more from an aerial view or from looking, more like an eye level view. And we're going to see how to leverage boxes in space to help us to map out the proportions of the vehicle. So we're going to do like a mid-engine, high-performance supercar. So I'm going to start with a front three-quarter worm's eye view, and we're going to do a couple of parallel lines. Just to start off, I'm going to draw my ellipses, which are, we're going to start with something fairly open and then progress towards something a little more closed. I'm also going to draw the far side wheel. So we're basically drawing like a pair of cylinders. And drawing that far side wheel, getting it in the right place is very important because sports cars are so low and wide. We're gonna draw that far side wheel fairly far out from the near side front wheel. And because this is a sports car, maybe we'll give this a staggered wheel, so the rear wheel is actually going to be slightly larger than the front wheel. And we'll draw some spokes just to kind of indicate the stance of the vehicle. And since this is a mid-engine car, it's going to have this very teardrop shaped cabin area. So I like to draw an egg shape just about centered at the front wheel, maybe slightly rearward. And then I can start to draw some fender forms over each of the wheels. And some key character lines. This is going to be a very expressive design. And because the front end of the vehicle is going to be so curved in plan view, so we're gonna make the front overhang fairly long, and it's going to have a lot of plan view curvature. We're going to put the center line quite far to the left or to the far side of the vehicle. And as far as the A-pillar is concerned, because this is a mid-engine vehicle and the cabin is pressed forward against the front wheel, the A-pillar is actually going to touch down over the front wheel versus aiming at the wheel center. So it's going to touch down more at the top of the wheel. I'm going to draw the belt line, which tucks in just beneath that front fender. I'm going to kick that up into the pillar area. As you can tell, sports cars are some of my favorite cars to draw. And as I add my details to the front end, I'm going to add some aerodynamic elements. I'm going to add some scoops or air intakes on the front corners. Maybe a little bit of an air intake on the center section as well. And maybe draw indicate some lights, some very aggressive headlights. Because the far side of the vehicle is wrapping away, we're gonna see very little of the far side headlamps. A mid-engine car typically has a very deep air intake on the side to enable airflow into the engine. We might introduce some aerodynamic elements like a spoiler along the back edge. I'm drawing my center line for the windscreen. And because there's so much shape in the vehicle, it helps to draw like some section lines. So I'm going to draw a section line that's aligned to the wheel centers. So you can see the sculpted fenders coming up over the center line of the hood. And because this vehicle is so low to the ground, you're going to see very little of the tires showing underneath the vehicle. But I'm going to just indicate a little bit of the tire tread showing beneath the vehicle. And darken in some of the graphic elements of the front end and the air intake on the body side. So now I'm going to draw a similar vehicle from a more aerial view. This time I'm going to be drawing a box. Now remember when we talked about drawing boxes in space, I'm going to be using a box to help define the proportions of the vehicle from a more aerial view. Now, I'm not going to be drawing a horizon line or vanishing points and all that because the box is going to be too big for those things to fit on the page. But just to kind of help guide me. And I'm also going to draw that egg shape to help define where the passenger cabin is, where the center of gravity is for the passenger cabin. I'm going to use that box to help me lay out the wheels. So this is a much more complex perspective to sketch. You can see I drew my three wheels in between, and I'm going to be drawing my cylinders. Now if you remember, with cylinders, the major axis of the ellipse is always 90 degrees to the direction of the cylinder. So you can see how they're slightly turned in different directions. I'm also going to sketch out the bottom of the front bumper, or the plan shape. And you can see it's quite long and it's quite tapered. You also see that all of my lines are converging towards a single vanishing point. And the same thing over here. And I'm going to repeat this bumper line because that's going to be my water line across the front end. Now I'm going to start to map out some of the main character lines onto the body side, the fenders. So these sculpted fender forms. I'm going to sketch out the base of the windscreen. So if I draw a cross section across the hood, you'll get a really good sense of the sculpture of the bonnet or the front end. And I'm also sketching the center line. And I'm starting to sketch some of the design elements of the front bumper. Some air intakes on the front corner. Some lighting details, some very aggressive lighting details. Headlights. And then my belt line, which is going to be rising up over the rear fender. My A-pillar is going to be pointing towards the top of the front wheel. And I'm trying to get this real aircraft canopy style windscreen. You can see how there's a lot of taper, a lot of tumble home, and a lot of radius in the corners. And then I'll wrap the side glass over the cabin as well. So the cabin has this real aircraft canopy impression. It's very egg-like, very teardrop shaped. And then maybe adding an aerodynamic element like a spoiler. And then not to forget the air intake on the body side for getting airflow into the engine. You can see this is a very complex perspective. It takes a lot of practice to get this more aerial view right. But once you do, you can draw the car in really any perspective. So I can start to darken in some of my graphic elements on the front end. The doors can also be used to help define the cross section of the vehicle. Now in this case, the front door opening is going to be going right into the wheel arch. Because this is a mid-engine vehicle and the passenger cabin is pressed so far forward against that front wheel. And the windscreen is going to have a lot of curvature to it in the top view. So this is a more aerial view, and it really just helps communicate the dramatic sports cars. If you're looking to take your car design career to the next level, you need a mentor who can show you the way. Go to www.CARDESIGN.ACADEMY and book a free discovery call. We can help you map out a strategy to master the skills and technology necessary to succeed as an automotive designer through live, online training, and personal mentoring. Whether you're just starting out on the journey or you're looking to level up, subscribe to our channel and be sure to follow us on Instagram at CARDESIGN.ACADEMY.